The 1970s, an era that gave us disco, bell-bottoms, and some of the most questionable decisions in automotive history. While the decade started with powerful muscle cars and innovation, the oil crisis of 1973 changed everything. Manufacturers scrambled to adapt, and in their panic, they created some truly unforgettable cars, unfortunately for all the wrong reasons. Today, we're diving into the 8 worst cars that limped off assembly lines during the 1970s. These weren't just bad cars, they were automotive disasters that combined terrible engineering, misguided design, and in some cases, downright dangerous construction. Number 8. 1971 to 1980 Chevrolet Vega. General Motors launched the Vega in 1971 as their answer to the rising tide of Japanese imports. On paper, it looked promising: compact, fuel-efficient, and affordable. In reality, it became one of the most notorious reliability disasters in American automotive history. Under the hood sat a 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine producing 90 horsepower in its initial form. Later variants offered between 70 and 110 horsepower depending on the year and configuration. But power output wasn't the problem. It was what happened to that engine over time. The Vega's engine used an innovative aluminum block with a silicon-etched bore surface, eliminating the need for iron cylinder liners. Brilliant in theory, catastrophic in execution. The engine would overheat, warp the cylinder head, and consume oil at alarming rates. Many Vegas didn't make it past 50,000 miles before requiring major engine work. Then there was the rust. Despite GM's claims of advanced rust protection, Vega started showing corrosion within 2 years. Number 7. 1975 to 1980 AMC Pacer. The Pacer launched with a 3.8-liter inline-six producing 100 horsepower, barely adequate for a car weighing over 3,000 pounds. AMC later offered a 4.2-liter six with 120 horsepower and even a 5.0-liter V8 with 140 horsepower. But fuel economy suffered dramatically with the larger engines, defeating the car's economy car purpose. The design had some bizarre quirks. The passenger door was 4 inches longer than the driver's door to improve rear seat access. The massive glass area looked futuristic, but turned the interior into a greenhouse in summer and an icebox in winter. Air conditioning struggled to keep up, and heating was inadequate. Build quality was inconsistent, typical of AMC's financial struggles during this period. Electrical problems, vacuum line failures, and carburetor issues plagued owners. The Pacer's weight and poor aerodynamics meant fuel economy was worse than many larger cars. Number 6. 1974 to 1978 Ford Mustang II. Yes, we're putting a Mustang on this list, and Mustang purists know exactly why. The Mustang II represented everything wrong with 1970s automotive downsizing. It took an American icon and turned it into a forgettable economy car with a pony badge. The base engine was a 2.3-liter four-cylinder producing just 88 horsepower. An optional 2.8-liter V6 offered 105 horsepower. The Performance 5.0 V8, when it finally arrived in 1975, managed only 140 horsepower, less than half what Mustangs produced just 5 years earlier. To put this in perspective, a modern Honda Civic has more power. The Mustang II was built on a modified Ford Pinto platform. Yes, the same Pinto famous for exploding fuel tanks. While the Mustang II didn't share that particular problem, it inherited the Pinto's cheap interior, mediocre handling, and overall lack of refinement. Performance was abysmal. Even with the V8, the Mustang took over 10 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. Handling was sloppy, with excessive body roll and vague steering. The interior featured hard plastics and vinyl that cracked and faded quickly. Number 5. 1975 Triumph TR7. British Landland marketed the TR7 with the slogan, "The shape of things to come." If that was true, the future looked pretty disappointing. The wedge-shaped design was polarizing, and the reliability was universally terrible. Under the hood sat a 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine producing 92 horsepower in US specification, thanks to emissions equipment. For a sports car, this was painfully inadequate. Acceleration was slow, taking over 11 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. But performance wasn't the TR7's biggest problem. Quality control was. Electrical systems failed constantly. Lucas Electrical Components, already infamous for unreliability, seemed especially cursed in the TR7. Headlights would stop working, gauges gave false readings, and the optional air conditioning rarely functioned properly. Priced around $7,000, the TR7 was supposed to be an affordable sports car. Number 4. 1971-1973 Ford Pinto. The Pinto became infamous for its fuel tank placement, which made rear-end collisions potentially catastrophic. But even setting aside the safety scandal, the Pinto was a thoroughly mediocre car. The base 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine produced just 75 horsepower. Optional engines included a 2.0-liter 4 with 86 horsepower and a 2.3-liter 4 with 88 horsepower. A 2.8-liter V6 was added later with 105 horsepower, but it was hampered by the same issues that plagued all Pintos. The fuel tank was mounted behind the rear axle with minimal protection. In rear-end collisions above 25 miles per hour, the tank could rupture and catch fire. Beyond the safety problems, the Pinto was simply cheap. The interior was all hard plastic and thin vinyl. Rattles and squeaks developed almost immediately. Rust appeared within a couple of years, especially on the hatchback models. Number 3. 1975 to 1977 Chevrolet Chevelle. Now, the early Chevelles were muscle car legends, but by the mid-1970s, emissions regulations and the oil crisis had neutered this once powerful machine into a shadow of its former self. Take the 1975 Chevelle with the base 250 cubic inch inline six producing just 105 horsepower, or the 305 cubic inch V8 with 145 horsepower. Even the performance 454 cubic inch V8 managed only 215 horsepower, less than half what it produced in 1970. But the power drop wasn't the only problem. The emission control systems of the mid-1970s were primitive and problematic. Catalytic converters caused heat problems, EGR valves clogged. Carburetor tuning was so lean that engines ran rough and stumbled under acceleration. The 1975 to 1977 Chevelles suffered from terrible fuel economy despite their lack of power. The big V8 struggled to get double-digit miles per gallon. The ride quality deteriorated with softer suspension tuning that caused excessive body roll but didn't improve comfort. Number 2. 1976 to 1979 Plymouth Volare. Chrysler introduced the Volare in 1976 as a replacement for the Valiant, one of Chrysler's most reliable models. Somehow, they managed to create a vehicle that was significantly worse than what it replaced. The Volare launched with multiple engine options: a 225 cubic inch slant 6 producing 100 horsepower, a 318 cubic inch V8 with 150 horsepower, and later a 360 cubic inch V8 with 175 horsepower. But power wasn't the main issue. Rust was catastrophic. The Volare rusted faster than almost any other car of the era. Fenders rusted through within 2 years in northern climates. The front fender areas were particularly vulnerable, with rust appearing around the headlights and spreading rapidly. The front suspension was poorly designed and failed prematurely. Upper control arm bushings wore out quickly, causing steering problems and tire wear. Many cars needed front suspension rebuilds before 30,000 miles. Number 1. 1975 to 1980 Chevrolet Monza. The Monza was GM's attempt to create a sporty subcompact based on the Vega platform. Yes, the same Vega we already discussed at number 8. Building on a known failure wasn't the best strategy, and the Monza proved why. The base 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine produced 87 horsepower. Optional engines included a 3.8-liter V6 with 110 horsepower, a 4.3-liter V8 with 145 horsepower, and a 5.0-liter V8 with 145 horsepower. But here's where things got absolutely ridiculous. On V8 models, you literally couldn't change the spark plugs without either lifting the engine or removing it entirely. The rear plugs were completely inaccessible. Let me repeat that. Routine maintenance required engine removal. Brilliant engineering, GM! The Monza inherited the Vega's rust problems. Within 3 years, rust would appear around wheel arches, door bottoms, and the rear hatch area.